From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
All right, so hey, welcome back to the Site Strategics Digital Marketing News Desk. And this is the bonus news podcast and video of Edge of the Web episode 356. And I'm your host, Aaron Sparks, although you wouldn't know it from that intro. How about that? Joining me this week with his take on digital marketing news is John Wall. John, how you doing, sir?
Good. Glad to join you.
Glad to have you. John is the producer of Marketing Over Coffee, and we certainly implore our listeners to jump over to the full interview because we've dug into a good number of topics, and there's more to come. So make sure that you check out episode 356 with John Wall, or link to this podcast. All right, so let's take a look at our first article of news here from InsideRadio. Veritone says AI is helping ad buyers sort through the sea of podcast options. In a new white paper, Steelberg says AI-based technologies are already making a difference as the number of podcasts grow, not only in numbers, but also in the variety of subjects that they cover. This is over at InsideRadio. So Ryan Steelberg, co-founder and president of Veritone, the advertising technology company that's leaning heavily into artificial intelligence, are talking about how they are going to be able to change ads bought and sold. So they actually launched a new white paper covering all this. And he's saying audio content is having a renaissance. And I think that's clear right now with what we're experiencing during COVID. But at the same time, we've been having a golden era of podcasting here for the last couple of years. So John, what do you say about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Veritone fan. I do have to say up front as disclosure, we do some work with them. Sure. So, if I get people excited about them, it's because I'm wrapped up in some of the work. But yeah, they've done a lot of stuff as far as machine learning and AI, both in identifying, which casts are ones to hit. Mm-hmm. And then they do have a bunch of stuff too, as far as scanning the content, digging in and churning through thousands of shows to be able to find out when stuff is mentioned or which spots are, where they're supposed to be and stuff like that. So yeah, they're doing a lot of cool work.
Yeah, and so it was a watershed moment whenever automatic transcriptions started to kick in, so we could actually unpack this content. Previously, it was almost like this impenetrable wall, because we couldn't actually dig into the content, understand, and be able to even do ad placement, let alone be able to have contextual advertising around that content that's being delivered. Now, the game's afoot, right? We can actually read the content, and you've been seeing regularly that you can actually get snippets, be able to be presented by Google on different video segments, and the content that is actually in the middle of the show itself or the video segment of exactly what is oriented towards your search. So we're going to see a huge unpacking of content that Google's going to be digging into, and in a variety of subject matter in the actual podcast themselves. But now we have the ability to market directly to those contextual interests. Yeah?
Yeah, and that's been lost and buried. It's just like you said. I mean, for the first 10 years of podcasting, basically whatever was your content was just hidden, buried with no way to get to it. There's been some transcription services. I mean, for a lot of what I was doing at Stack and Flow, we just eat it and pay the $2 a minute, to have the thing transcribed to get there. So to have that happen automatically is great. And then another thing that people have been watching that I've heard a bit about is how this will tie into smart speakers and things like that too, to be able to find chunks of audio that can then be served up as search results on a smart speaker. That's kind of that's a new Wild West as far as search stuff goes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So have you caught yourself over time placing certain content pieces in your show just for the optimization's sake of things? Have you done that yet?
No, I haven't tried any gaming of the algorithm at all. It's pretty much just been enough work to get the content out the door. And I supposedly, if we were to believe all of it, the big benefit will be that these will be contextually aware, and they'll have, they'll be looking for n-grams, not just single phrases.
Sure.
So if you're talking smart talk, you're going to win. That's what we're being sold. I don't know if that's really true or not, but it's a good story. I'll run with it for now.
Yeah, absolutely. The cool thing is that this is organic. And again, I was teeing it up as more of a jump ball there on the gamification. I think what you're going to see here is you're going to see these natural entities of information coalesce in these podcasts in long form and short form, and the audience is going to be much more apt to want to buy because your audience level is going to be deep participatory nature, not a 10-second flyby video audience. These people are in the lane. They're committed, and you got to be careful with the advertising if you're actually introducing advertising at that level, because if it's a non sequitur, or if it's not meeting that interest level, it could actually backfire on you. But boy, what a ripe harvest to yield if you can actually move really good oriented content, oriented marketing at that interest level, even as the show or the subject matter progresses to a particular state. What an opportunity it would be. It's kind of like the old Layer 7 video, if you recall, way back when, where they were they were planning on the delivery of advertising mapping. So if you, in the middle of a video stream, you'd actually see a Coke can, that Layer 7 could actually map to a URL of the actual Coke can in the video itself. And there was going to be another interaction where you could actually pull that user over to a destination landing page or something like a pizza comes in. Hey, you want to order pizza? Literally, that ad would be right there. That's not
to jump with. And the other thing with that is, people that already have their SEO game fully tuned can just go to Veritone and be like, okay, look, here's the 35 phrases I want to see. Which shows, have this showing up the most times? And now it's a whole different buying experience. Gosh. You're not just open on downloads. You
better believe it. So we're watching in eager anticipation to see that mature over the next couple of years. From social media today, this is something that actually is really exciting as well. Facebook announced Shops for Facebook and Instagram after years of working around the edges and trying to find ways to make a bigger dip into e-commerce. The COVID-19 pandemic has finally given Facebook the push it needs to take the major next step. So today, Facebook actually has launched Shops on both Facebook and Instagram. So for a small business owner that does not have their online capability to have e-commerce, they're actually rolling this out to you. So Facebook actually explained Facebook Shops make it easy for businesses to set up a single online store for customers to access on in both Facebook and Instagram. Creating a Facebook shop is free and simple. Businesses can actually choose the products that they want to feature from their catalog, and they can actually customize the look and feel of their shop with a cover image, accent colors that showcase their brand. This means any seller, no matter what their size or budget, can bring their business online and connect with customers wherever and whenever it's convenient for them. Now, how about that as a huge move to be able to help out small and medium-sized businesses? John, what do you think about the Facebook and Instagram shop?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I think the big win is anybody that's already got a Facebook presence that's working for them. That's going to be fantastic. You should hopefully just be able to roll and do promotions right to your existing audience. The other one that surprised me were all the integrations that they are talking about out the door. Shopify, Cafe24, WooCommerce, all the big players. So that's another huge win, just being able to set it up and flick a switch and have your inventory roll over. I'm a little suspicious of setting up a free store. If you don't have a storefront anywhere else, if it's just going to be on Facebook, it's free now, but Facebook does have a history of, charging for stuff later. So I definitely wouldn't make it your only option to get out there. No. But yeah, if you're already on the other platforms and you can just flip a switch and get the store running, it's a huge win.
Absolutely. Well, they've been working in the background for a while. They have all those integrations ready to go. So this has been an undertaking that they've been going through for many years. But you're absolutely right. Now they talked about setting up the shop for free. Doesn't mean there's free transactions, right?
Yeah, well, and transaction versus annual fee, but it seems like transactions would be the easiest play, and then Facebook credit card, not far behind that, I would imagine.
Yep. Well, I mean, then you have the battle of PayPal's 2.5% transaction rate compared to the Facebook current transaction rate would be. Boy, that's going to be a whole nother hill of beans there. All right, hill of coins. It's a Freudian slip. All right.
It is crazy though. There's a whole realm of you talk about jobs that didn't exist 3 years ago. It's the whole e-commerce store management and credit card fees and all that. That's a thing now. It's pretty crazy.
It is, and it can take a dip, but at the same time, be able to facilitate companies that have never been able to launch something like that before. businesses can certainly sell on PayPal. Now they're going to be able to sell on Facebook and Instagram, and what a cool feature to be able to roll out right now. So kudos to them on that. All right, so we also want to give kudos to our continuing sponsor of The Edge. AHREFS is a fantastic application that makes understanding your competitive analysis very, very easy. You can find out your competitors online, what tools are ranking for, what pages are bringing them the most links, and be able to develop your online strategy to beat them to the punch. You can actually extract all the keywords that they're ranking for. They have a great audit tool and much more from an analysis standpoint. So go over to ahrefs.com today and be able to dive in there. I think they've got a 7-day, $7 sign up to trial period, so you get the entire application, not a crippled piece, but an entire application, so you can run a good deal of analysis on the analytics. How about that? Say that 5 times fast. Check them out. It's a great sponsor. We certainly appreciate them coming along for the ride for the last year here. So ahrefs.com and start your trial today. You're going to swim in fantastic data just like we do here at the shop. All right, last article for today is from Barry Schwartz. And we certainly watch what he's doing with increased anticipation, especially whenever an algorithm comes, a core update comes through. And that certainly did happen May the 4th there. He actually posted on Search Engine Roundtable insights from a number of SEOs regarding their thoughts on the quality of the search results. Did Google mess up the search results? So there's a number of contributors into the article that are saying, hey, you know what gives on the SERP result? In fact, Bruno D'Angelo actually jumped in there talking to Danny Sullivan, who's the search liaison for Google. What about Pinterest? The last update, many steps are like this one, and all of a sudden there's not only just one grouping of Pinterest listings, but also they're doubling up. In fact, if you look through that thread there's multiple listings of this exact same Pinterest image being displayed there on certain SERPs. So there's a good take from a number of SEO pros in the space, and they're commenting on a few flaws that have been at least coming up into their view here. Especially user-generated content and forums seem to have actually been taking a hard hit from the Google algorithm update, but they're also seeing some sizable redisplays of content. Multiple displays of content as well. So check out the thread. Glenn Gabe's on there. Lily Ray's on there. In fact, some of the top changing domains of positive change are literally Pinterest, Chinese Pinterest, the Denmark Pinterest, so many different foreign language Pinterestai. How about that? Is that that's the plural? All of that have been a huge gotten a huge benefit from the algorithm update, and there's a lot more to this than what the thread's showing. But there's a lot of contributors showing, hey, you know what, Google, you might want to look at these results a little bit because there's some anomalies happening everywhere. All right, so. Sorry for the rant there, John. What are your thoughts on? I don't know if you've focused on SEO and the algorithm update, but any contributing thoughts on that right there?
Well, yeah, the first one is just that it seems like it's 10 years ago. You know, we used to have this where they do the algorithm change and companies would go out of business and everybody would be just up in arms and war. And you know, we haven't had stuff like that to the same degree. From what they've said, they're rolling it out more, phased. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this has been a huge hit. We did have, I was looking at one client that it was interesting and that their inbound traffic dropped way off, but conversions, total number of conversions stayed about the same. So it was like a lot of junk traffic that was coming in was no longer being shoveled to them. And so they were actually happy, even though the inbound was down, conversion percentage went way up. So, but yeah, it just seems a lot of this is just anecdotal evidence. Obviously the multiple international Pinterest domains is one thing that they'll just flip a switch and fix. And so there's some weird stuff in there. Yep. But yeah, it's just amazing now too, when you wonder how many teams of people are designed, in part of that and have to get involved with it, because obviously it's way beyond the point where a group of 3 or 4 people can understand everything that the algorithm's doing and, how many human hands are in it at all.
Absolutely. And I mean, SEOs by and large are quite, put it this way, they're not reticent of giving their opinion very, very quickly, especially when something like this happens, right? So, although with the SEOs that we respect here on the show, they were all a bit reserved. Okay, we don't know what we're seeing yet. Just give it a few weeks to actually roll through. But now they're starting to contribute, going, you know what, there's some oddities that are happening here. To that point, we certainly do want to pivot around, and we do usually do a Google update, especially whenever an algorithm comes through. We're doing this update as consistently as we can, and when some notable changes in ranking volatility are observable. And of course, we stalk Barry Schwartz because, I mean, he lives and breathes this stuff, right? So kudos to you, Barry, as always. So let's go through some of the recent changes. Obviously, the fourth was the Google Core Update algorithm, but there has been some chatter regarding some additional volatility here around the 20th and 22nd. So going into SEMrush, you can see the volatility model has been volatile all the way through the core update, and over the course of the 20th and 22nd, there's some high volatility spikes. And actually, I unpacked a little bit further in there, and a couple key categories that are pretty sizable in their volatility were beauty and fitness, along with online communities. Now, if you think about it, is this a direct connection to COVID? Because there's a heck of a lot more focus on fitness and beauty, because everybody's trying to powder themselves for their Zoom sessions, right?
Yeah, their own haircuts. Yeah, other disaster videos.
Exactly. So, I mean, both, and on top of that, the online community, there's certainly a sustained volatility in that, where most of the other categories have been lower factors. So that's demonstrating some kind of unpacking some deeper perspectives there. But moving into the weather forecast that we have right now, we're 85 on Moz, nice and balmy, right? But there's still. We're not in our comfort zone of 50s and 40s, but that's where we really want to be, so to speak. So they've been pretty volatile here since the core change. And Cognitive also shows, if you have a look there, a little bit better weather pattern there, although there have been the continued bumps here recently of volatility. I think this is a good deal more stable pattern that we're seeing right there. Over at Rank Ranger, I do want to show you a couple things here. We certainly see the core update volatility, and that was huge. And it's actually calming down, has been calming down. The same 20 through the 22nd change here just recently. But if you actually unpack their tool to actually see some of the SERP featurettes, so to speak, if you go into the featured snippet area, you can see that there is, well, actually, if you go into the ad cycle there, you can see that the ads are actually taking a higher level of percentage in the search queries just over this last few days from the 22nd to the 22nd. So that may actually be some of the volatility that you're seeing. And lastly, feature snippets have taken a hit. Since the core update, they're actually dropping further and further in the amount of visible representation in the percentage of queries. So these are actually kind of going back to some of the percentages that you saw at the end of April. And these I've been watching for a while since we've been doing this report. These are some of the most volatile segments of the search features. These people also asked the featured snippets, the video carousel also has been something that kept on bobbling along the lines there. So interesting enough to be able to see some of these kind of inner workings of the SERP, and pay attention to your own listings there, as you may be getting some reduction of your visibility from these type of changes. Lastly, I want to actually point out a tweet from Morty Overstein over at Rank Ranger. He actually pointed out something very weird, is that he actually was able to document some ads that are rolling through the People Also Search feature. All right, and Barry actually chimed in today saying they were actually testing this back in 2018. So in the People Also Ask area, where you usually find some clean snippets, you're also seeing some ads that they're experimenting on as well. So the game's always afoot. There's always areas in which they're experimenting on the real estate. So John just went through a gauntlet of updates, some thoughts in the algorithm update world, and what do you think about that particular ad right there?
That's really interesting. Yeah, I don't think that people were searching for an ad. I think maybe they were given an ad and ran to it.
I think so.
It's just insane. More and more space will be up for sale, and if they're going to keep growing the beast, that's the way it's going to go. So
it's certainly it's looking like a NASCAR. Honestly, there's an ad there. There's an ad there. There's an ad there. All right.
No, there's going to be like one organic search result down at like position 8. Like that's going to be the only thing you can get without a dollar figure attached to it.
Exactly. All right. Well, we hope that's not the case, but always want to keep vigilant and then make you aware of the churning waters in the SERPs. That's it for Edge News this week. Be sure to check out the full interview, episode 356, linked to this podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and get updated whenever we go live. And hey, let us know how we're doing over at the Edge of the Web, radio.com site, and give us a bit of an anonymous feedback from our listeners poll. Tell us what you would like to hear more of in the future. So thanks so much for everybody over at Edge of the Web and Site Strategics, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.